Hello. Okay. Just getting ourselves all ready. We've got Jeremiah Hartman, an amazing MC, who's going to be coming and joining us as a panelist today to have a chat to us all about what he has been doing to use Zoom to, really level up his business during this time. I think one of the things about this whole, and look, do you know what? He was giving me some advice last week and already I can feel myself not doing it, but I'm focused. I'm going to take his advice and I'm going to stare at the camera. Here he comes. Hello, Jeremiah.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, darling. Can you believe it's Friday again already?
I'm now going with, there's only 3 days of the week, which is yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's what it feels like. You agree?
That's the perfect way to be. And I mean, I've got my wine, my champagne poured. I've gone for something a little bit different today. It's a sparkling red. I got it from this Silo's beautiful winery down in Southern Highlands. But
right.
I don't even need an excuse to crack open the champagne anymore.
Well,
wine. I'm like,
let's do it. Let's dive into it. Like, I was looking at your, like what you're going to be sharing and this stuff there. And I'm thinking, even I could learn from stuff. There's heaps of things that we're all going to be, to level up on. I'm calling it level up in lockdown. What about that?
I like it. I like level up in lockdown. That's good. And I know you picked me up. I've been sharing this post all week. I'm trying to put the image of myself near the camera because I keep staring at myself, checking my hair, and it doesn't give a credible thing if I'm just staring at myself the whole time.
It's an unusual thing. I think mentally we're so used to seeing a reflection in a mirror.
Yes.
Right. And so when we see our reflection in the mirror, we're going to use every chance to get a look at ourselves because, like, how am I looking? Right. And I think when we have something like our image of ourselves, we're naturally drawn to look at that. I think it's just some innate thing. I don't know if it's like we're vain or anything, but it's just we're all got that thing where we see a reflection of us and we go, oh, that's me. How am I looking?
Yeah, how am I doing? What's going on here?
Yeah. And so that's an unusual thing. And I think that's the one thing that makes this interaction different from normally. And I think we're going to talk a bit about that because when we meet clients, when we meet our customers who are sitting across from us, we don't have a projection of our face behind our head and we're looking at ourselves. We're looking at them. And that's the one thing that we got to get into the habit of. And these are the skills that even I myself, don't get me wrong, like I still fall into that habit. So it's about learning to get into that habit and reinforce that habit.
And I actually find myself too, I look at your eyes and I know I need to look up at the camera. And even as I do that with my fingers, I can really see. So that's me pointing at your eyes and that's me pointing at the camera. And it's a big difference. So there's definitely some skills we're going to need to get used to with this.
Definitely. But one thing also is knowing that, look, there's things that what makes it even more challenging is that, we're working on a computer.
Yeah.
And on a computer, we've got a screen as well. And there's things that we're going to be drawing up and we're going to be dragging across and we might need to be taking notes. But I think that like when we're making a special, it's like when you're in public speaking, if you're going to be addressing to a room, you might have something in front of you. Sometimes I might have notes that I'm reading off with.
Yeah.
But I won't be looking down all the time. And just like I'll need to look at where I'm going to.
Yeah.
So I can't just keep looking up all the time. There's times where I'm going to have to break
gaze. Okay, because I feel like I'm staring really hard now.
It's difficult, right? Let's be realistic. Like there's things, because I've got a computer in front of me, but I think the most important thing is be mindful of it.
Yeah.
That's what's helping me is that I know that I can't always be looking down the lens because if we were in a studio and there's only just a camera and a camera crew and some lighting, look down the barrel. That's only what we're doing. But we're in a workspace.
Now, I'm going to jump in because this is actually really, really quite crazy what's happening here. Because this is something I was going to talk to you about later. Yeah. But when you are in a Zoom environment, I'm jumping straight into it because I got a problem right now, right? I have a dog that has just run into the room. Yeah. And he is like heavy breathing right behind me. Now, I'm very concerned right now that number one, you can hear that and you think it's me.
I can't. See,
you can't hear that?
No, okay. I can't hear that, no.
Now, I need to get this dog out of the room. And let's be honest, we're all working from home. We got kids, we got people running crazy. What is the professional thing to do?
So here, I think about this a lot. Okay, let's face it. Okay, so what I was encouraged was to to say, just, you know, in anything, in events and anything in life, or especially when I'm in front of people, I always acknowledge the obvious, right? So if there's something weird happens in a room and I'm on the microphone, don't ignore it, because everyone's going, doesn't he know that thing's going on behind him? Say, hey, you may notice, I don't know if you notice, my dog's just behind me. Could you just give me a few moments? I'm just going to quickly take it out. And what I would do at that moment is I would.
Oh, this is clever.
See that? I just muted myself. So I would say, look, I'm just gonna mute myself. I'll just come back in a moment. All right. And then that means, so in the bottom left-hand side of your screen, do you see like the microphone? You got mute and stop video.
Yep.
Yeah. So that would be one way. That's how I would handle it. Is to say,
hey, you don't want to stare at my boobs as I stand up?
Well,
is that
well, I think.
A nice low cut. I've got a high cut top on today. I can get away with that.
Right.
But
okay.
It's true. But you don't want to be a girl standing up doing these ones into the camera.
And I guess it's also like you're breaking frame of professional frame.
Yeah.
So the frame we got now is, this is the interaction that we're having.
Yes.
And this is the frame that we're fixated on. This is what we're doing. And this is business time. And look, yes, even just before a meeting starts, to say, yeah, I'm working from home. Look, you know, there's going to be a chance that we might get some noises or some things, but that's what's going to happen. At least just setting the frame, setting it up, saying this is what's going to happen, and would that be okay? And then you go, yeah, okay, cool. Of course, we're both working from home. So that's how I would handle that. I would have got and that happens sometimes. Like I've got to maybe I'll watch my lamp. You know, I've got a lamp to the left of me, just starting to lift or to go, right? But oh crap, I've got to catch that. And I'll just say, look, hang on, let me just adjust something. And I'll just go I'll go and make sure you do both. I would say do both, right? Because you just want to turn the camera off and turn the microphone off, because you're out of frame, right? And
that is actually a point that we were chatting about earlier too. Sorry, I cut you off then, but it's a really valid point, because this isn't Instagram Live. This isn't Instagram Stories, is it? This is Zoom.
This is Zoom.
And it's different.
Yeah, and exactly. And I described it as that in front of the curtain and behind it. Behind the curtain is Instagram Stories, where this is me down the shops and me having a good time with so-and-so. Or, hey, this is what I brought back from the markets. And, hey, this is me on the way to a job. I'm in traffic, whatever. Then this is business time.
Yes.
Right. And so there's the in front of the curtain, which is, you don't want to show the backstage, you show the front stage. And I think any intelligent person will know that we all have a front of curtain in our life and we have a behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Right. And even in our Instagram Stories, there's still not the whole behind the curtain. Right. Yeah. Life's pretty ugly, right?
Yeah.
So, right. Pretty dramatic.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah. It's edited behind the curtain. Right. It's a director's cut. But this is just how, when we're in this space, is that we're on show. And that's the thing with what we want to talk about with Zoom, is that this is the platform, not the best platform, okay, but it's the best platform around right now that's freely available, that governments, institutions, schools, education systems are all adopting, right? Yep. As the go-to platform. And it's accessible, and it's you can, and I'm sure you're going to elaborate a little bit more about what functionalities are of it. But this is the go. This is the setup. This is why we're using Zoom.
That's perfect. And I should say as well, Jeremiah and I have just launched straight into this today, because we were saying today we're going to keep it really loose. It's meant to be just like wine time, having a little chat. It's just Jeremiah and I today. And today what we're doing a little bit differently is I've got the questions panel open here. So whereas last time we were like, okay, we're going to answer them at the end.
Yeah.
Feel free to hit us with questions as we go through, and then we'll try and answer those as we can.
We'll do our best.
Yeah.
And I might go like this and go, okay, right. Yeah. If I don't understand an answer, and I'll probably just give out some answer I don't know, but no, we will do our best to answer all those questions. And we like that. Thank you so much for interacting with us throughout this.
Yeah, definitely. It's the best way to be. And it's actually, I think one of the things that I sort of wanted to chat about today was, you mentioned the functionality. So just to give you a little bit of feedback from what we've been using it for, we've been finding it's a fantastic platform to book new couples. You can use Zoom for free with one person, like one other person interactive for an unlimited amount of time. But if you do need to interact with 2 people, you get capped off at 40 minutes. Now, we've invested in actually, having a paid subscription to Zoom. I think it's well and truly worth it, because we were finding that when we're booking new couples, they were isolating in different areas. So the bride was at one home, the groom was at another home. So then we were doing a 3-way, and then I'll try and use better words next time. We were doing it, with 3 people.
So
and
what you did there.
Yeah, I didn't mean to. And then that's just totally thrown my point of the out the window. But the most important part that I was going to say is that, we have invested in it because it does look unprofessional when it times out at 40 minutes. I did make that mistake once, and it looked really like suddenly, oh, hang on, guys, I'm going to have to set up a new one. And luckily for us, it was like day 2 of lockdown, so everyone was very forgiving. But I think at this stage of the game, if you are going to be having interactions with more than one person, be aware that if you've got more than one person on, it will time you out at 40 minutes. Is it best to use on a laptop? Certainly think so.
I would say yes. To answer that question is, it's best to have a webcam. I would say I've got a webcam. I'm using a webcam for a few reasons. Like the quality of webcams is generally going to be much better than the quality of as attached that's come through your phone or through your laptop. So the base minimum that you want to look at is 1080p plus upwards. Like 1080p is the pixels.
Yep.
So with anything less than that, the visual quality gets a bit grainy. And the older ones don't have, for example, might not have a microphone attached to it. So if you don't have a microphone like myself, you'd have a microphone in the webcam, and that'd be substantial enough to host and to interact through that.
Now, how do I find out if I'm at 1080p? Or...
On the webcam I've got, it says 1080p, and that's just the base where it's at. And that's a Logitech camera. If you look up Logitech webcams, they're Logitech are a big leader in of course, hardware.
Yep.
But the webcam I purchased that, I think, about a year and a half ago. And I've held, countless meetings with it. And what's good about it is that I can adjust it. So where my eye level, and that's a really important thing, which we touched on before, is that like eye level is very important, just like we're talking across the table.
It's actually funny. I think I'm a bit less techie. So I did the old school method, which was to put my computer in the room where I wanted it. And I know you're going to chat in a minute about what looks pretty in your background. And I love my light. You'll see every shot has my light in it. I'm trying to bring my brand through like that luxury level of into my Zoom as well. I'm not just, that's who I am.
Yeah.
And so what I did was literally took Dean's laptop and an iPad out into the kitchen. And I just went and had a look at what it looked like. And I got him to sit here, and I got one of the kids to sit here. And then I went out there and had a look, and what do I look like? How does it sound?
That's really smart, Rachel. That's very, very smart, because what you said is that, like, in the best capacity we can, we must extend our brand in this capacity. Like every touch point that we do, from our email signature to our introductory email to this, all, I guess, must be aligned with that brand image that we want to do.
Yeah, definitely. And like, if I go just a little bit this way, you can actually see the clothing in the wardrobe.
Yeah.
So, but all those things, it's really important. I don't mind seeing folders, because I think that shows professionalism. We're in an office, business.
Yeah.
But I still want, for me, Enlighten's always been a prestigious, a luxurious brand. So I did make that choice to make sure that I had something really pretty in the background that would give that kind of, brand relevance and that continuity coming through as well.
Absolutely. Another thing that would help with that is looking at your profile photo. So upload a headshot that your most snazzy headshot that you've got, preferably one that's familiar already in your marketing material.
Well, I don't think I've done this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so in your settings, there is when you go to your profile, you can upload the photo, just like any other account that you have online for social or whatnot. But it's best, because what I would encourage also is when you upload that, it means that they're meeting you. So naturally, you might feel inclined to use your logo in that. But I feel that personally, they're meeting us, right? So then it's just the personal interaction. So when they see, yep, I'm meeting Rach, and this is a photo of Rach, and then therefore the video turns on. Oh, that's who it is. The photo is of the person.
That's a really, really good point. And it does tie in very much to something that I'm a massive, crazy believer in, which is all about developing your trust factor. And I think that even though Zoom is a fantastic platform, and we've certainly, I kind of was shocked myself at how much we could do on it. We've been doing album viewings and booking up sales and booking new clients. And, that momentum has kept going, especially because the message that I do keep taking out to the market, and I hope everyone if we all sing the same song, it's a fact. Our wedding dates are chock-a-block for next year because so many wedding dates have moved. If you're in an industry where there's only one of you, so all of our photographers, there's only one that they can do each day, your couples need to book now if they want to get those key dates next year. So that's
my problem too. Like that's definitely
if they want Jeremiah, they're going to have to book now. We've got 3 photographers, but if they even want, one of those 3 dates, we've got a number of dates next year that are now booked out. So we're continuing to book that. But the one thing I feel with Zoom is that in the same way that they come into the studio and they meet you, that's kind of what we're doing here, but it really helps if they already have a face to who you are. So I've certainly learned from an amazing podcaster in the States called Jenna Kutcher. If you get a chance to have a look at her stuff too, I love learning all the time. I think it's so important. But she talks a lot about the know, like, trust factor, that your social media shouldn't just be a whole bunch of pictures of stuff you've done. Your social media is your chance for your couples to get to know who you are, to get to know you on a more personal level. And I'm sure that we all agree that we like to purchase things from people who are like us.
Yeah.
And it's taking them through that stage so they can know who you are as a person, that you care for the products that you're making, that you care about the services you provide, then they like you. And then the next phase is they like you so much that they then trust you. And that trust factor coming out of, these lockdown and COVID, this credibility and trust factor is going to be super important. So the more that you can put a face to your product or service in your socials supports your ability to then close the sale on Zoom. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean, and like that aligns with the phrase I heard once, which was that people will buy into us first before they buy into the problems we can solve for them too.
Yes.
And that, I guess, aligns with your, like, trust factor, is that people, it's a fact that, yes, people want to align their day with everything about the wedding day is going to be a giant alignment with who they are anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, the styling, what they're wearing, the food, even who they're inviting, and their vendors are going to be in that same thing. What aligns with us, and who do we think we are? And are they aligned with how we roll? And that's the important thing of, I guess, what you're saying is conveying that. And this is, again, in Zoom, using this as a platform to use that as a means of conveying, continuing that know, like, trust factor.
One thing you also mentioned last week too was the importance of getting to know Zoom, because, and I love this when you said it, because
make room for Zoom. That was my thing today. It came to me. Make room for Zoom.
Make room for Zoom. I love it. I love it. Because like you mentioned that you're able to sell and you're able to communicate best when you feel comfortable and when feel confident. We've all done that where, I've done in the past where I've changed the inclusions in a package, or I can't find that something that I need to show my couple, and then suddenly you're like, and that moment, that mojo is gone, and you lose that rhythm. And when I did my first Zoom appointment, I was like going, oh, hang on, can you hear me?
That's right.
But if we want to be able to sell through this platform, and we want to close the sale, and we want people to say, I trust you to, book you for a wedding a year away, we got to look credible, and we need to have confidence in the platform we're using, right?
Right. And we're credible in every aspect as we can. And so, yes, this is the way to be familiar. And like, it's very easy just to be familiar. You don't have to have a meeting to
No.
just understand how to use Zoom.
All
And
right. Give us some function tips.
yeah, like for example, like I go to the settings and I just want to know how the settings work. Like I open up the Zoom and I open up and go to settings and I can see that there is, the video settings, and I can see that there is the audio settings. And I just want to know, how do I work those? Because there are four things that I say are going to be the most important thing for a professional Zoom meeting. Is firstly is your quality AV. Like, just without a doubt, that's going to be, because if you're quality in what you do in everything in your service, it would be important to align that quality. So make sure you've got quality a webcam. Make sure you've got quality capturing of sound. Of course, it goes without saying, make sure you've got quality access to the internet. So I plug I don't use my Wi-Fi when I'm doing a Zoom webinar.
Oh, by the way, am I allowed to drink on camera?
Well, in this case, you can. Okay. In this case, I'm not going to let it go flat, right? So I'm going to let you enjoy that.
Keep going. Sorry.
But if you're doing a webinar and you're, for example, got a webcam and you've got other things happening, it'd be better to use your cable and plug it from your router directly into your laptop, if that's possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on. You just got techie on me. What's a router? No.
So instead of using the Wi-Fi, using the cable, see if you can plug for example, if you're on the NBN and it goes to your modem, and instead of using your modem's Wi-Fi, just plug the cable from the Wi-Fi to your modem. So so it's from a cable, purely because you got less chance of any delays or any interferences. Depends where your Wi-Fi router is. And why that's important is because like audio and visual quality can get a little bit weird. Have you sat in a Zoom meeting where it kind of goes while they're talking?
Yes.
You had that before?
Yeah.
And that's because, that's probably because the signal went a little bit weird, and I want to minimize as much as I can of that happening.
Yeah.
Because I'm using a microphone here, I'm using the webcam here, and it all has to come in together, just like make it as strong internet as possible.
Yep, definitely.
So make sure you've got really strong internet. Make sure that the next thing is, I did mention eye contact as well, but make sure you got eye level with your camera. And you've done as well with Rachel's also your space. So make sure your space is clean and presentable. And lastly, lighting. It's really important.
How's my lighting going today? Because I'm trying to get that balance of well lit, but without showing too many crevices. I got one, like if I get the light too strong on me, you start really picking up.
Yeah. Well, I think people want to like the know, like, trust. Again, we're going to talk that in, but make sure that we are, we're putting our best parts forward, but also we don't look scary. Right. Yeah. Like, like for all shadow and like, it's just, it's weird. Right. And also the next thing I mentioned last week was know that if you're in a main thoroughfare, like you're obviously where you are, it's different, and I'm in a different part of the house, but like we are working from home.
Yep.
And so to have that perfect alignment of you've got good lighting, good internet, good camera, a good microphone for capturing sound, and also a good place where you won't be interrupted, so that people know in the house that this is what's happening between this time. I'm not going to need any interruptions. Now,
for anyone who missed it last week, tell us again. I love your traffic light analogy. I think this is a great system.
Okay, so I'm gonna acquire this because I heard this through, I think it was through TV. They were talking about, I had some presenter, and I said I'm going to take that on board, so I'm going to share it as well. So it's a traffic light system, which is obviously they're familiar with the red, amber, and green. So red, if you want to put it on your door where you are behind you, to say this time today, right now, I am at red, which means under no circumstances can anyone walk in, and under no circumstances can anyone interrupt. Under no circumstances can anything happen. And we made a joke last week, like, it doesn't matter if the house is burning down. I'm in the process of landing this deal.
Yeah.
And that's that. The amber is like, well, it better be a pretty damn good reason if you have to come in and interrupt this meeting. Okay, it better be pretty good, but you can come in, right?
The difference between a broken arm and a scraped arm, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. And then and green is like, I'm not in a meeting, but I am working in this space. You can come in and, obviously if you need to ask me something, that's fine. But that would be the simplest way, those three tiers of setting up, well, this is what's going on and what's happening right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, dogs don't follow that system. So.
Well, dogs don't. Dogs don't even know what COVID is. They just think it's a normal day. They're just having a great time.
I think it's awesome. Our dog's like, oh man, my own is at home all the time. This is the best.
Yeah.
Now, I saw Serge has popped a little comment on here as well. I have to say, Serge, I totally agree with you. I actually have a couple of times now, partway through, my Wi-Fi has been playing up, switched to hotspot on my phone. So, because I find my hotspot, does give a really, really good, strong signal. So, I totally agree that Serge made the comment, you should also have your phone ready to switch to if NBN drops out.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah,
and I've done that. And it has happened to me actually, where luckily I wasn't in a meeting, but it has dropped out. Yeah, hey, I'm going to take that on board. Thanks, Serge.
Yeah, that's good. Now I'm going to show you guys a couple bits of functionality that I like. So of course we're going to start with filters. I'm just such a chick. It's ridiculous. I know that's terrible.
So now you're leveling up. I'm feeling inadequate. There's me talking about cameras and microphones. Now you're going to go into filters.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going to filters. This is my first question. I even had to post it live on Facebook to everybody. So David Stowe, you probably saw it come up. I know you're watching. So if in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see next to stop video, there's a little upwards arrow. If you click on there, that's actually where you get a lot of your video settings. So this is where you can start to have a look if you want widescreen. And you'll see in there's an option for touch up my appearance. It's not a big difference. It just goes on and off and it just, gives you a little bit of something. And then this is the area that you can do a lot of, keyboard shortcuts. And that's where you'll find a lot of your functional stuff. Yeah, it's really, really good. So in the case, I'm actually running in a webinar at the moment. Just so you guys know as well, a webinar, we've actually paid for an upgrade option to, in addition to meetings, we now have gone to a webinar additional plan. And that then allows X number of participants. I can't actually remember the number off the top of my head. But it was actually really good on Zoom because you didn't have to sign up the webinar to a 12-month commitment. So you could actually just do month to month. See, that's the reason.
That's Dean. That was Dean, wasn't it?
That was my husband, Dean, and he knows that this is going on. Thank you, sweetie.
What'd I do?
Say hi.
Hi.
Hey, Dean.
Hey. Yeah, well, it's wine time. It's all good. Now, so in that section, there's a lot of fun stuff in there. Now, if you are looking at the moment and you run your mouse up to the top of your screen, I think usually, sometimes it's at the bottom, you'll see a green share screen button. It's at the bottom now. You click on share screen. That will then show you all the different programs that you currently have open. So one thing that I find fabulous about this is that you can then share just a specific screen. So if you're sharing with...
Look what I just did. Did you see that? See that?
Yeah, there you go. Oh, there's my social media calendar. Yay!
Wow. Okay. There you go.
Thank you for that little plug. It's
little
free,
plug there,
guys. Due to the meeting is up. Hang on. Well, none of these options are available at the moment due to the meeting is up. Okay, yes, sorry, because I'm on a webinar at the moment. Thank you, David. So you'll see that when you're in a meeting for yourself, at the bottom you'll have a share screen option. And what's really cool with that, and that's important to know, is that you can comfortably share a specific program without, so I'm staring at myself again. Hang on, let me get myself, and you can obviously drag these over. You can actually share one specific program rather than giving people access to your entire every program and thing that you've got open. What's also interesting is when, for example, we use a program called Fundy, and I struggled a few times because I was double clicking in to enlarge a photo. But when you enlarge the photo, that then takes you to a separate program.
Right.
So if you want to have two screens operating at once, this is just my personal thing that I've found. So for example, when we do an album design, if they want to see a close-up of their photo, we found it was difficult for them to see the close-up because it took you into a new screen, and therefore they stopped being able to access it via Zoom. So we overcome that by encouraging them to have an iPad available, and they can have all of their photos from their wedding available to see on there.
And you do that remotely. They can access it remotely.
Yeah, they can access.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how we're overcoming that. But that's really handy as well. So the share screen's really great. The other part that you might want to keep an eye on is when you're opening up and starting a meeting. Apologies if this is getting really, really obvious and back to basics, is that you obviously need to admit people through the participants. So that's a change that just came in the last week or so, where, because I think before that they had like Hamish Blake just bombing people's Zoom, which is kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, right.
So with it now,
you've got to have a gatekeeper.
Exactly. It's a default. It's a default setting. So you need to, if you want people to be able to jump in without you needing to admit them through a waiting room, you just need to turn off the waiting room.
Here's another thing regarding jumping into a meeting. There's a setting in the video settings which has, I'm going to show you in video. If you click on settings and you go to video, there is a checkbox which says turn video off when joining meeting, right? So in the settings, so in the video settings, it'll have a picture of when it shows you preview, when you click on it, and then it says meetings. Under the meetings, there's a check. It says turn my video off when joining a meeting. And I'm a fan of that because it means that sometimes, like when you come in, you want to be, you're all over the place. Sometimes you might jump in a meeting and and so at least you can turn it when you're ready. Like when I jumped into this meeting here, I was muted and my camera was off. So then when I'm sit down, I'm actually prepared and I'm ready, and I'll click that and I click that and I'm ready to go. As opposed to sometimes you're waiting for it to, like with when your meeting's happening, or say we're waiting for the host to start it. So you might be, I don't know, drinking a coffee, or you might be, and then video goes live and you're not prepared. You're like a deer in the headlights. So I find that is very useful whenever I'm jumping into a meeting. I just check that. So I know that, it will just show a picture of your profile instead of your video.
Perfect. Now I'm going to just jump through a couple more bullet point pieces that I sort of wanted to cover, because I want to keep these webinars a little bit shorter than we did last week as well. One of them is that I'm a very big believer in the emotional sale. I said it last week and I'll say it again. I love sales. I think that sales is serving. I love giving people what they love. I think that our photographers are amazing. And I honestly, with all my heart, believe that when they choose us, they're getting the best photography possible. So I love sales. I just see it as giving out, some beautiful couples the amazing to have fantastic photography. So with the emotional sale, one of the things that's really important is that when you're not, person to person, is being able to give the benefit of what you're explaining to them. So I always use the phrase "which means," and if you've heard me talk before, you've heard me bang on about this. My two favorite words in the world are "which means," and because we're now not in person and we don't have the physical products that we would usually get them to touch and feel and pick up, and for us, an album that you feel the weight of and you feel the thickness and the silkiness of the stock, that which means becomes even more important. So if I'm showing them photos or I'm showing them an album, I always don't just tell them what the product looks like, I explain to them the benefit. So for example, if it's a pen, I've got this pen that is blue, which means that you'll be able to, that was a really hard example to work with, but which means that you'll actually be able to see a difference when you're marking it off against something that's black.
So you could say, perhaps you say like this box of pens has a variety of colors.
Exactly, which means that you'll be able to use it in a variety of circumstances and it'll last you a lot longer. For us, I always talk about our albums, for example, and I'll say, it comes in a beautiful felt-lined box, which means it's going to be well protected because it's something that you keep forever. I'm adding value and weight to what I'm telling them all about. So, when you have, we're going to capture emotional photos of you and your mum when she sees you for the first time, which means that you'll be able to remember that moment. It's over so quickly on your wedding day.
What you're doing. So what is, I get it. Right.
Yes, which means that you'll have this memory to keep forever and you'll be able to enjoy it again with mum because those moments go so quickly. So I think that becomes even more important on Zoom because you don't have those pieces that you can touch.
And what you do when you say which means, it immediately transports to to instantly relatable, emotional place.
Very much so. So we're taking it away from being just what the product or the service looks like, and those things that they can see for themselves. I think sometimes with photography, it's really important to try and explain what the photographer was seeing and what they were thinking when they took the photo, because there's so much more to it than just what's on the camera or that photo. So the which means transports you to an emotional place, and I feel as though with Zoom, if you're wanting to close the sale and you want to build the credibility and you want them to say, oh my gosh, yes, I need to book these couple for my wedding date, using that which means phrase is a really easy way to start, to help you with that.
Fantastic. I would reveal that I do use it after hearing it the first time you're saying
it. Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's just a perfect little, it's not a hack, but it's just a way in which you can express yourself or what you need to say in a very short way.
I found I teach it to all of our team members, because sometimes when I'm saying to them, I need you to describe the product, then they'll start to say, oh, it comes with a black cover.
Yeah.
Which means that it will suit any decor and is timeless and something that you'll be able to keep forever and never goes out of style. Once you start to, any phrase that you're using, just add the words which means on the end and push yourself to think about what does it mean to the couple.
Yeah. In a dialogue, what is the thing that's going to trigger a definite tick for them? Yeah,
definitely. So that as well, for us using Zoom, I don't ask for a credit card over here. In person, one way that I like to close the sale can be as simple as asking and saying to them, guys, if everything looks great, you're happy with everything, it's a deposit of $1,500. Would you prefer to pop it on, is EFTPOS easy, like card or bank transfer? So in this platform, we have a fantastic CRM system, and I literally have it ready to go so that a quote is generated for them, and I can actually do that on the spot for them. So I'll actually email them through a quote, and then they can sign that online on the spot, and then they can actually pop the payment transfer online. So that is something that is very handy to have. And keep in mind that you can still, I haven't got this good at it yet. I'm still, what CRM do I use? I use Tave. Fantastic system, very intensive to set up. If you'd like some help, I have spent hours and hours and hours and hours and months.
CRMs are like that, aren't they?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like, you think it's good, you buy it and you install it and you're like, wow, it's going to make my life. But then it's like the way I imagine to describe it is like, I want a sandcastle. Well, here's a big truck and it's got sand, right? Yeah. And and there's a sand pit, and then you've got to start figuring out, well, what process do I want to have and how do I want to flow? And that, it would drive you nuts if you try and do it yourself. That's for sure.
Well, with it, it's the one area that we're working on now, so that we are going to have super refined systems when lockdown finishes. And we're going to be coming into the busiest period that we've ever had. So with our CRM, we have automatic templated emails set up for every single contact with a client. So if they contact us through the website, they get an automatic email that goes out one day later. I then personally, because I'm a big believer in personalization, personally call, email, and then another automatic email with ways in which I can serve them by helping them with some part of their wedding day. And that just goes out as a touch point automatically after 2 days, 1 week, and 2 weeks. So development of the CRM so that they get like the templates for before a pre-wedding meeting, before an album viewing, after their proof viewing, requesting a Google review. All this stuff is like the one area that we're working on the most during lockdown. So if you have not got a CRM, I've just gone off on a tangent.
But you've raised
and it's a really good way to spend your time.
I think that there was a different time when I was not using a CRM, and even now where I am now, I don't even think I knew how. Like, even though it's like a big monster, but when you understand how to use the most of it, it is so more efficient, and it also enhances that credibility.
Yeah.
And especially when like you get a phone call, and I with my CRM, it saves their account into their phone, and I put their date next to their name. So when the phone rings and it's a contact of mine, it'll have the date of their wedding behind it, their name, And I'll go, great, I know. If it's like a month away, I'm like, why haven't I heard this name before? No, but then it just gives a bit more posture when I answer the call, and and it also gives an ability to write down notes between interaction.
Yes.
I think that's so powerful, because I get off the phone and I can record notes. I say, okay, so Sally called me and she was discussing about the whatnot. It was, and then I go, okay, so I answered that question, and I will send her an email follow up on that. So when I know that that's there, so if Sally calls me back and her wedding might be in, 24 months, maybe.
Yep.
She calls me back in 10 months. I can open up the account and I go, okay, yes, I can see here we spoke about this, instead of like that awkward credibility busting. Yeah.
No, I'm more. I use it for remembering details, and that's helpful. But I'm like a systems oriented person. I'm like, I don't want to have to email anybody to remind them of meetings, or even have to trust team members. Like, we literally have reduced our team members by taking the time to set up our CRM, really, really well and strong. And that's definitely the number one thing I'd be using this time for as well.
Yeah, that's a definite level up of knowing that that's the next stage. I think that was
cool. Well, I mean, so did I even finish what I was talking about? Maybe
I'd love someone to describe what we were talking about and see where we go. Like,
I don't even know. But look, I think the main things is like, you've got to have Zoom is awesome, but you need to let couples get to know who you are first. It's like, it is exactly that thing. You can't make a hot sale off a cold lead. There's no point trying to have your first interaction with a couple being on Zoom. We are an industry where who we are is why people buy us, and is why they invest with us. So it's an awesome platform, but they need to know who you are as a person first.
Yep,
and that's why socials cannot be more super critical at this moment in time. And what Jeremiah was showing before as well is I've created this awesome social media calendar, and you'll see if you jump onto my Rachel Enlightened socials, you'll see I'm doing it every day. And it's just got a little challenge on there of something that you can post that is more than just a flashback or a throwback. Because it was interesting. I went to try and hire a photographer recently, and I was like, oh, I want to see who this person is. And so then I went onto their Instagram and I went, oh, their photos look like every other photographer's photos.
Yeah.
I don't see anything different about them. And I was trying to find what they look like. And I'm like, who is this person? And I thought, you know what? This is what our couples do. They're trying to decide if they want to come in and see us. They don't just want to see pretty photos, because guess what? Lots of photographers can take pretty photos, and they kind of all look the same because there's a trend, or there's not a huge amount of variety in what good wedding photos look like. But if you can have personality and let that shine through, that is what's going to set you apart. So with this social media calendar, you don't have to follow it religiously. It's just a really good prod, or a little suggestion of something.
I like that. I mean, it's what you've done is it's just gives you, and even if, like you said, it doesn't have to be too literal, but I've got something I can twist that. I can still, what it does is it incites ideas to create ideas about this, and it can be depressing at times when you go, normally I post a photo of an event I was at, or my stories are about an event I'm at, and yes, it's evident we're not there, right? So what can we do to keep it going? Keep that like trust factor going.
Yeah, and let people know that we're still in business. Like, if you're not posting right now, it would be a pretty easy assumption to make that people would go, they must have closed, or they must not be there. So if you're not active on socials right now, then they're not going to call. But then once you do get them onto the Zoom platform, having that credibility because you feel confident with the platform, you're looking directly down the camera. One other thing we haven't touched on yet is tonality.
Yes.
I'm a huge believer, and I have to admit, it's sexist, but I think it's really important, especially for females, to be very careful of their tonality, especially when they're talking about price. It can be very easy to talk with an upwards inflection. Because I get very excited, and you'll see it on my Instagram stories. I do it. I don't have a problem with it there, because I'm not being professional. That's me behind the curtain, as you say. But when it comes to having a professional conversation with somebody, and I want them to understand how important something is, and I want them to understand what the price is, and that I know what I'm talking about.
So this is a good analogy for this, right? Because it just came to me. I'm sorry, I jumped my head, but when you listen to ABC News, they say this is ABC News. Now, ABC News is authoritative. ABC News is information, and it is just how it is. We register a downward inflection with something that is important, that is something is like serious, downward inflection. And that's what I guess when you wouldn't hear it say, this is ABC News. Like you go, am I going to tune into this? Like, I don't know. Like,
do they know what they're talking about?
Yeah, they know what they're talking about. They don't sound too convinced about the news they got to share.
Yeah.
And I think what you bring up is a very important thing in all forms of communication, in all forms. And this was instilled to me when I was in voice training.
Yeah.
And it's especially speaking to a live audience and all those sort of things. So let's expand on this, Rach. Let's go a little bit further.
Yeah, definitely. Like the one thing I keep thinking of that I always think of is if you were asking someone for a deposit and they say, how much is the deposit? If you say, the deposit's $1,500, suddenly they're going to say, but is it?
But is it?
That's just what you want. But if you say the deposit is $1,500,
yeah,
that's finite, and they know that that's what every person gets charged.
Yes.
It's so important that if you're, especially again on this platform, when you're not face to face and you don't have all those things, it's really the tonality of your voice becomes super important.
And even like, for example, the first thing you want to say is like, thanks for meeting me. Like, thanks for meeting me. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, thank you for coming. I'm really glad we make the time to have a chat. Right. That there is different to the opposite, which is a highward inflection. And it's something that, like you mentioned before about, it may be sexist or not sexist. It's a register of tone.
Yeah.
Really. It is just a register of tone that all humans have, this register of tone and understanding that this is up means different to what a downward inflection is.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. So we chatted about the importance of the know, like, trust factor and developing your socials before you get to the Zoom platform. We've chatted a bit about functionality, sharing the screen, and it's been, I think I mentioned, but you can actually give over remote control access of your mouse to the people on the other side too. And we've had huge, because with photography afterwards, they choose their favorite photos to go in their album. And so I've been giving them remote control access.
Wow.
So they can, I know, I did a pre-viewing. It was so cool. Last night, I should actually share this photo later. I was sitting there in my moccasins watching a movie while my couple were remote controlling my computer, and then they were just picking their own photos. And I'm like, dude, I know we have to sit in the studio while this is happening. This is the best.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, no, it's been really like far better than I expected. So you've got all the functionality there. The importance of tonality to really make sure that your message is coming across correctly, and that ability to continue to do an emotional sale and convey who you are because you're able to, use the which means phrase, and then you're able to, explain the benefits rather than just the physical product that you're selling.
There you go.
Does anyone have any more questions? How did we go with
that? Was that valuable?
Feedback? Yeah, like hit me up in the messages over here and see if anyone's going to send us a message.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pop this on the thing later. Well, if you guys don't have any more questions, we might end it here.
Yeah. Well, I think we've covered a good 50 minutes of a chat.
Well, I got one more. David Stowe, you did not fall asleep ages ago, my darling. You are so cheeky. David Stowe's from Society Photography. I love him to death, and he's so cheeky.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Rach, for having me on board.
Thank you for joining me for my Friday afternoon wine time. Now, guys, the main thing as well, I hope you saw it in the email. We want to keep this going, and I want it to be really, really super relevant to what you want. I can see it all coming through. Oh, David was our photographer. Hey, Kirsten, there you go. See, look at this. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. This is so cool. You'll see the Rachel Enlighten page on Facebook. Sorry, I'll start that again. The Weddinar Facebook page. I'll email you guys a link to that as well. We've had quite a few people who joined after last week's webinar. Just as a great way, because I know that some things Jeremiah was talking about, the tech stuff, that's definitely the area that I struggle with more. I usually just go, Dean. I've got my own tech guy here. But
There's you telling me about screen sharing. Stop it, Rach. Come on, you're levels ahead of me. Mouse, having clients use the mouse. I'm like, wow, slow down, right?
Anything I can do to not have to do more work, eh? But yeah, so jump on there, and then if we've got more questions or you want more things answered afterwards, we can kind of share our experiences on there too. And then let me know what you'd like to hear more about next week. We're thinking of I've been having a chat with some of the venues. Been chatting to Christy Franks, who has one of the panels last week, and we're thinking of talking to some venues about what they see for the future of weddings. So what is weddings going to look like at the end of this? How are they going to manage, what if the restriction comes in that you can have 100 but not 500? Are people going to be letting people move their dates again? One area that really concerns me is with the borders being locked, what if we can go ahead with the wedding but mum can't get here from Italy? Are we going to, are people, what are the venues going to be doing? How are they handling these questions? Because I think a lot of us will end up following suit with the direction that they head, because they're the ones that are setting the dates. So I'm thinking that could be a really interesting topic for next week. So if you guys have any questions or an area that you'd like to chat about, just let us know.
There's one question down here from Jessica. She said, we'll be able to watch this on replay, which we will have a link.
Yep, there'll be a link. I'll be sending that. I'll email that out. And also on that Weddinar Facebook page group, it'll be there as well. Perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us, guys. And really, please, this is something we want to do weekly. And I go crazy for stuff that's not really useful. So I don't have time to waste. Hit me. Tell me, what do you guys want to hear more about? Because that's what we want to serve.
And in closing, we want to say thank you. Stay smiling, stay safe, and stay strong.
Love it.
That's my closing line.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.